Hey guys! Welcome back to Daily Sews and Stuff. This is the second video in my pattern projecting series. Arguably, it should have been the first, because today I'm going to tell you why you should choose projector pattern projecting. I feel like there should be outtakes of me saying pattern projecting. We're going to take patterns and we're going to project them. Why should we do that? A few months ago, before coronavirus, I was in the Facebook group for Ellie and Mac, which is a pattern company, and the designer admin said, hey, just so you guys know, I'm making some projector patterns. Is this really something people are interested in? Let me know. And I was like, well, I don't know what that is, but that sounds interesting. She posted a link to a Facebook group called Projectors for Sewing. I'm going to give you a minute to click off of YouTube, go to Facebook, and join that group. Go. Did you do it? Good. Because I'm going to tell you what I know, and I've been doing this for a few months, and I'm loving it. And I definitely want to share all the cool things I have figured out and all the things that I know to do. But that group has a huge range of people with a huge range of projectors, with a huge range of experience with the pattern projecting, and people who've been doing this for months before it became this thing that it is now. So you will find a ton of really good information there, and you should definitely stay tuned to Daily Sews and Stuff. You should check me out on Facebook, you should check me out on Instagram, but sometimes you need a wider group of people than just me to ask a question. I will totally answer the questions you put in the comments or on Facebook, but you need to have a group of people too, and that's where your group of people is. Projectors for Sewing. It's a Facebook group. Join it. So, why should we do projector patterns? So, I followed this link to this group, and I was blown away. These people had figured out how to take a pattern that's on their computer, project it from a projector directly onto fabric, and cut. And that's it. They cut out buying a traditional pattern at the store where you have the tissue paper and you have to pick your size and cut it out and not tear the paper, and that's a pain. Plus you have to go to the store, and nobody does that anymore. Or you can buy a pattern online, a PDF pattern, which is my favorite way to do it. So with PDF patterns, you have two choices. You either print it at home on your home printer on little, 8 by 11, 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper. In the States, that's letter size. Internationally, you'll use A4, which is a similar size. I don't know how big it is. But it's these little pieces of paper, and you got to get a whole big pattern that way, right? So you print it out, and it's a stack of papers, dozens of papers, and putting them together like a puzzle, and then grading or adjusting the pattern if you need to, and then cutting out the pattern, and then putting the pattern on fabric, and finally cutting out your fabric. And by now, if you're like me and you sew at night after your kids have gone to bed, you've wasted one night putting together your pattern, another night cutting the pattern, and you're on your third night, and you're just now cutting out your fabric, and then you're going to have to sew it together, which is going to take a couple more nights. It's kind of a pain. So then you had another option. A lot of designers would offer you an AO file. It would be a huge piece of paper, and you could either take it to your local coffee shop, which generally ended up being fairly expensive, plus you had to go to the store, or you could order online from somewhere like PDF Plotting, I think that's right, and wait a while for it to get printed somewhere else and get shipped to you. It would be usually in black and white unless you wanted to pay more for the color, and you would usually print all the sizes on it, and then you would have to trace off or cut out in your pattern. Neither one of those was a great option. but it was the options that we had. Usually I chose to print it and put it together because even though it took a couple nights to get to where I could cut out my fabric, that was faster than sending it off and cheaper than sending it off. It was working. It was a pain, but it was working. Well, enter the geniuses that started that group. Now, you take your pattern, your PDF pattern on your computer, you send it to your projector through the cords or over the air, and you project it onto your fabric, and you cut out your fabric. And that's it. It's like one night, and then you can sew. Sometimes it doesn't even take a whole night because it's so much faster that way. It's awesome, y'all. I love it. Downside to that is on paper, it's really easy to make all sorts of adjustments. You can grade, you can do a full bust adjustment, you can do a sway back adjustment, you can do a height adjustment, you can do whatever you need to do. But if you have a projector, you can't really draw on your paper, cut up your pattern, spread it apart. Like slash and spread doesn't work with a digital file. So this will be a future video, but there are some ways that you can get around that. There are some things you can do to digitally alter your pattern, and you can project onto paper, trace onto the paper, and do your pattern adjustments that way, and then you've got a paper pattern. Now, I still prefer, if I can get it done digitally, that's now my preference, my new preference. But something like a full bust adjustment, it's really hard to slash and spread digitally. So I might figure it out one of these days, and I will definitely let you know about it if I do. But right now, for things that are a little more involved, I'm tracing off my pattern and altering it that way. There will be several videos in this series that will go into lots of the details of how you calibrate your projector and get it set up for the first time, what you do from then on. Do you have to calibrate it every time? No. That's a one-time deal. What kind of projector you should choose, that sort of thing. That's all coming. Right now I'm just trying to convince you to jump into this with me. So I'm going to show you what it looks like because it's really cool. Peg leg add-on. That's the pattern that we saved last time in Google Drive. So that's the pattern that I'm going to project now. I'm going to turn on my projector. I've already plugged it in to my computer, and it is projecting onto my cutting board. I've extended my desktop, and you can see the daily sews and stuff is there. So I've got my mouse, and you can't really see it. I can see it. And I'm grabbing the top of the screen and dragging it over. As you can see, I've got my peg leg pattern over here now. And right now you're thinking, how is this different than an AO? You've still got 1,000 layers open. Well, so I do. But here we go. See them disappearing? They've all disappeared until just my size is there. I mean, I could just take some fabric, lay it down, and start cutting. That's all I would need to do. Isn't that exciting? If you have been doing PDF patterns for long, you know how thrilling that is. It is so amazing. It has literally changed the way I sew. It has sped me up so much. It is worth every penny. I only spent right at $100. I think it was $101.32. Not positive. But I bought the projector, I bought the mounts, and I bought 2 VGA cables. And that's all I needed for this, like, I was going to say life-changing, that's a little dramatic, but sewing-changing, hobby-changing, maybe that's the way to say it, thing. That was anticlimactic. So I am no longer printing lots of paper with lots of ink. I am no longer taking all of that time where it took 3 days before I even got to cutting out my fabric. That's such a pain. So instead, I'm using my projector, and I am loving it, and I'm confident that if you will try it, you will love it too, and it will change the way you sew. And especially if you're sewing production, it will speed you up so much. It will be so worth the investment. So, join me next week. I'm trying really hard to put out a video every Tuesday for this series. And if you will subscribe, you will get notified whenever I put out a new video. There's also a little bell that you can click that will help make sure you get notifications. And if you have questions or you have a projector and you are super excited about it too, comment down below. I really want to be able to engage with the people who are watching with me so I don't feel like I'm standing out here talking to myself after midnight. So thanks so much for watching. Here's my 5-year-old.
Thanks for watching my videos. Like, subscribe, and comment.